Was Tuma able to escape further Grey's Anatomy reruns in order to watch baseball last night? We'll find out on the Wednesday, September 22nd edition of Leading Off. My name is Brendan Tuma. With me is Dinger Dan Harris. How are we this morning, bud?
We're fine. Did your roommates let you escape Grey's Anatomy now?
Yeah, so it's just the singular roommate, the girlfriend who loves when I refer to her as that. And we had to watch one last night, but I was able to then watch some baseball. Really exciting night, even fantasy aside, just with all the playoff races going on.
Yeah, it was a good night of baseball, actually. And I particularly like the Tuesday nights because I feel like Tuesday in particular, there's no football on. Like football just ended. We haven't even gotten to next week, so you can really just sort of hammer through and focus on the baseball that's going on. When I take a break, Tuma, in between games, I turn on the Mets, 30 for 30. Don't know if you've seen that at all. I've started watching that. It's fantastic. So it was all baseball all the time last night. I loved it.
Love that. I'm halfway through that, doc, so I do want to finish that soon. I mean, last night we had the Phillies. JT Realmuto hit the 2-run walk-off triple. Bryce Harper just had an epic slide into home plate. And as we get closer to the end of the season, we talk about MVP. I've mentioned how important that voting is to me. I like those little like MVP moments, Bryce making that slide was one of them. The Red Sox won their 6th in a row, but the Yankees and Blue Jays both won as well. The Cardinals won their 10th in a row last night. These races, the division races aren't that close, but some of the wild card stuff is.
Yeah, is there any only the Dodgers Giants, right? Only the Dodgers Giants and the Phillies Braves. But I do expect the Braves to be able to pull that one out. Yeah, it's good baseball right now. It's everybody's sort of playing hard. Our teams are playing each other, Tuma, which is just horrific because you're still optimistic. You're like all over it. Mayor and I watch the games. We're like, do we have to watch this? Do we have to? These are our teams, but you're still that little 10-year-old boy who escaped from Grey's Anatomy and gets to watch some baseball, and it's very exciting for you. But yeah. Baseball as a whole right now, like it's great. And even like the A's and the Mariners, they're not out of it. They're hanging in there. So really exciting.
Yep. All the award races, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, etc., are reasons to tune in. I want to start in an unusual place, and that's with a closer who didn't get a save yesterday, but Liam Hendriks pitched a clean inning. I started looking into his stats. He's pitched 65 innings this year, 34 saves, so rock solid 2.77 ERA. You can't complain. His strikeout to walk ratio is 103-7 in 65 innings. That's the highest K- walk percent among relievers, and it isn't particularly close. I support closers on the show the same way I support kickers in fantasy football. I think going into next year, Hendriks will be once again, probably the top closer drafted alongside Josh Hader.
Yeah, I mean, I think those, you don't pay for saves is a general maxim. You maybe do, Tuma, but generally you don't. If you do, those are really the only two guys that were worth paying up for, and they earned it. So it has been good. As you know, Tuma, we have a league that we are in with only 7 pitching spots. In that league, I paid up for Hendriks because I think when you have smaller, rosters essentially for that, like the impact a closer can have is way more. So yeah, for sure. But at the same time, who knows what we're going to see next. Remember when they traded for Craig Kimbrell and everybody's like, I don't know what's going to happen. And it's just been all Hendriks all the time. Great season for both of them. Good that they justified their fantasy managers' faith in them to take them where they did.
Yeah, it might sound obvious. Oh yeah, of course, Hendriks is one of the closers, but we see so often some of those top closers drafted in fantasy leagues wind up busting, but not this year. The Braves hitters once again went off. Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Jorge Soler all homered. Riley hit his 30th homer. Such a nice season from him. He's now hitting 300, 369, 524. He's just doing it all. And a little birdie told me that in your head-to-head matchup, you're going against a lot of Braves hitters.
Yeah, I do. I have, by the way, the commissioner of that league thought at some point, I'm sure you weren't listening at that point, but that I had mentioned in that league that I was going up against a team that snuck into a playoffs and had gotten a roll, when really I was saying my team is that team that I had snuck into the playoffs and I had gotten a roll with all crappy players, some of whom we'll probably talk about in a minute. I am going up against all Braves. hurts my heart to be going up against Austin Riley because I have all the shares of Austin Riley in every other league. And he's been fantastic, man. Like that, the 300 batting average, there's just no way that I thought that was an actual potential outcome. Like there's just no chance whatsoever. But I did think that he, again, look at his walk rate and his strikeout rate from last year's shortened season. 7.8% walk rate this year, 8.4, 23.8% strikeout rate, 24.2% this year. And he started off and he wasn't hitting for a ton of power. But my point all along when we were drafting him was when you have power like Riley does, which is power 4 days, you can trade some of it off to basically hit for a little bit of a better average. And that is what he did. And so he's at 30 home runs. He probably could be at 40 if he just sort of, sold out. But he'll take this any day of the week. We're in a league together where I have him. I will be keeping him. You'll never get him ever again, so long as we're in a league together, my friend.
He's one of the best examples of a young player making adjustments early in his career to reach that next level that I can remember in a long time. So yes, definitely in on Riley moving forward. I want to talk about Josh Donaldson quickly. He went 3 for 3 with a double, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. His surface level numbers are fine. He's hitting 254 with 24 homers and an 830 OPS. That is fine. You look at the StatCast page, 98th percentile average exit velocity, 94th percentile hard hit rate, 92nd percentile expected WOBA. It's blood red. His 480 slugging percentage suggests that he's been unlucky compared to his 531 expected slug. When you see someone like this, who for all season long, we've talked about it with pitchers, with Aaron Nola, Eduardo Rodriguez, it looks like Donaldson is quote unquote underperforming his expected stats. When you see something like this last all season, what does that make you think in terms of fantasy?
I think Donaldson is a particular case because realistically, it's not about his performance. His performance this year, I think if you had said in 124 games, I mean, the batting average is what it is, but he's going to have 24 homers. He's going to have 67 RBI, like not amazing, but certainly productive enough. You would take it. You would sign up for it. The real thing is the in and out of the lineup, and the problem is like, it wasn't like he was just constantly hitting the IL. It was like, ooh, a little banged up. Don't know if he's going to play this week. Going to be in and out. His performance wise, he's been great. As you mentioned, like it is all red. He's hitting the crap out of the ball, but it's really just the health with him. So if you could guarantee me like 130, 140 games with Donaldson, even as he's going to be 36 next year, I would sign up for that all day. There's been very little decline. His strikeout rate is a 5-year low at this point. But it's a little bit of a special case with Donaldson as opposed to look at the StatCast data. It's amazing. It's always amazing for Donaldson. It's much more about the health.
Yeah, I think and you look at it and I looked, 35th percentile whiff rate. Man, he just maybe doesn't have it anymore. But then I look back and even when he was like an MVP candidate, his whiff rate was around that mark. So I don't know. I think that I will be in, like you said, it is always going to be health related. And maybe it's just like one of those things that we're destined to be frustrated with him in fantasy, but I do think I will be in on him next year just because of the expected stats.
I don't think you want to draft him as your starting third baseman in most leagues. I think you like a corner infielder, perfect, because you can have depth, make sure you have another option behind you. But the health concerns is just, and he's just getting older, obviously, and he always kind of has the calf issues. But the other thing is, by the way, he's on Minnesota now. I don't know what their lineup's going to look like. They obviously traded off some pieces. I don't know if they're going to try to rebuild and go for it enough next year. It doesn't seem like it, given where they are, which means that RBI and run opportunities may be fewer and farther between.
Yeah, that RBI total is really low for the amount.
24 homers and 67 RBI. That's like Harper-esque at the early on.
Some downs from Tuesday night. JD Martinez went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. So this is kind of the inverse. You look at the season-long numbers, and they look fine. Since July 28th, he's hitting 249 with an OBP under 300. That's 190 plate appearances. Yes, that is a bit of an arbitrary endpoint that I chose, but you can slice it up however you want. You can go since June 1st, since July 1st, first half, second half. He is fading. He's getting older. I think that it'll wind up leading to him being overvalued in drafts next year because, again, one, the surface numbers look good. And when everyone was paying attention in April and May, he was crushing it. It looked like a huge bounce back candidate, but I'm a little concerned. I mean, honestly, like since July 28th, 249 with an OBP under 300, like that's not, he probably hasn't been providing that much value to your fantasy team in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, the second half, like you mentioned, I mean, he's batting 257 with 9 homers in 54 games. 54 games is exactly 1/3 of a season, if my math is correct. That's a 27 homer pace. Like, that's not going to do it for you. And he only has 27 homers on the season. So, yeah, again, it's always interesting what happens when somebody slides in the second half of the season, particularly an older player, because that's, there were concerns about Martinez. But yeah, man, this is going to be something where, like, I don't know whether or not jumping off next year is going to be considered a year, the risk of I'd rather be a year too early or a year too late when there are actual signs of decline here. But he's not going to be on any of my teams. There's enough here to make you think, he's going to be, 34, 30, he's 34 now, but he'll be 35 by the end of next season. This strikes me as a likely decline, although the whole Red Sox team slumped for like a month. So who really knows exactly?
Yeah, and if he does stay in Boston, obviously that lineup in the ballpark will be helpful towards him. Kevin Gausman last night against the Padres, 4 innings, 9 hits, 4 earned runs. He has a 5.04 ERA in the second half, but you look at the ERA in the first half was like 1 something.
Yep.
Then you look at the xFIP, 330 in the first half, 333 in the second half, nearly identical, but obviously those ERAs are going in wildly different directions. What does that make you think in terms of how to evaluate him?
It does seem like he's been mostly unlucky, right? I mean, that, like, when you look at that, when you look especially at the xFIP, like, that sort of suggests that he's pitching fine. I won't say that he's pitching better or anything like that than he was in the first half, but this is just kind of the evening out of what we're going to see. Now, what's really going to be interesting, Brendan, is what happens to him in the market next year, right? He took the qualifying offer, looked like an absolute steal, whether or not people want to buy in. Rest of season, like, what does he have, 2 starts left? I'd probably start him, I guess, just because it seems like everything's okay, but I'd be playing matchups, I guess. Long term, this just strikes me as the evening out of some luckiness in the first half, and he is what he is, which is a very, very quality pitcher, just probably not a Cy Young candidate.
Yeah, he does line up for 2, assuming the Giants don't do anything funky with their rotation.
Yep.
Towards the end of the year, he does line up for 2 starts against the Diamondbacks and Padres. I know the second half has been rough. I would still start him for that, especially because it projects as 2 starts.
Yeah, against Diamondbacks especially, go for it.
The Giants did end up winning that game, though, and the Padres lost again. I just had to, so my third down of the night is the Padres because Kevin Acee of the San Diego Union Tribune had this profile about them, about the free fall and how the manager Jace Tingler just has no control over the clubhouse and he's a puppet for AJ Preller, and Fernando Tatis has been like very broody and sulking, and Machado, they had that fight. Anyways, the Cardinals had a 2.8% chance to make the playoffs back on September 7th, according to Fangraphs. That's insane. 2.8% on September 7th. And so, yeah, this turn of events for the Cardinals and the Padres, I just can't believe it. It's disastrous for San Diego.
It really is crazy. And again, they've had some things that, like, what are you going to do about it? Like, Darvish went in the tank a little bit, right? I mean, Blake Snell got hurt. I mean, that happened sort of late. Chris Paddock went on the IL. They kind of fell apart. But yeah, it's really crazy. And as somebody who has been a fan of a team that often has internal strife, I'm enjoying it from like a 10,000 foot view. And I also, again, I don't know if Go Cards is here right now, but Go Cards, one of our loyal listeners, a huge Cardinals fan, of course. I will say that probably like most of the general baseball population, especially the National League fans, don't usually enjoy the Cardinals magic. Like, it's obnoxious a little bit, but I am enjoying this because this is really just a crazy turnaround. It's hard not to root for guys like Goldschmidt. I'm glad Arenado is sort of I mean, they're going to make the playoffs, right? I don't want to jinx it, but
they're going to be the second wild card.
Yeah, they've got like a 4-game lead or something over the Phillies. So This is great. And Wainwright goes out there, throws some curveballs in the wild card game. Like, let's see if you can take down the Dodgers and then go on the run. I'm here for it, but yeah, man, I don't know the Padres. And I wonder, Tuma, because it's a narrative award, whether this does hurt the Fernando Tatis Jr. MVP shares, right? Because there's just some negativity about him right now.
Yeah, I actually think it absolutely does. That was kind of the vibe I got from reading that San Diego Union Tribune article, and combine that with like the Harper, like he's playing like with his hair's on fire and he's hitting well, and the Phillies are pushing the Braves. So I don't want to say it's a lock at this point. I don't want to jinx your bet there for you.
I'm wondering, by the way, if anybody is, I'm sorry to talk over you too. I know you hate that, but you'll be fine. You can leave it in. I am wondering, people in the chat. So it's not a substantial wager. I don't risk major money on gambling. Sorry, everybody. But obviously, both Joe, my dog is right here, by the way, if you hear some shaking in the background. I'm leaving him in, Tuma, because it's September 22nd. I don't care if it sounds weird on a podcast. I'm wondering whether or not I hedge this out, guys. Like, it's probably going to be, just imagine it was plus 3,000, plus 1,800. Joey and I fired a couple of times. Do I hedge it out with a little wager on Fernando Tatis Jr., or do we think that this is a lock enough? So feel free to comment in the chat. Sorry, I need personal advice, Tuma. That's why I'm here. That's the only reason I do this.
No, that's a good point. I love that, taking those long shots, and then when it gets closer, all you need is for it to be one of two, and then you can hedge.
Harper, really though, awesome. I mean, so incredible, and the fact that he is up to 80 RBI, by the way. Like he was doing the thing where he had no RBI at all. So yeah.
Some news and notes from Tuesday. Cody Bellinger landed on the IL with a rib fracture. Disastrous season for him. AJ Pollock is expected back Thursday. I wonder if Bellinger is even going to be on their playoff roster. Chris Bassett will return to the rotation on Thursday against the Mariners. That is fantastic news after the injury he suffered earlier this season. Chris Sale is starting Wednesday against the Mets. The Sox are pushing him up. Luis Patino is starting Wednesday against the Blue Jays. This is potentially significant because Michael Wacha, who's supposed to start, pitched out of the pen on Tuesday. This could mean that Shane Baz ends up getting that Sunday start against the Marlins. If that happens, I assume you're in favor of picking him up.
I don't like to start anybody against the Marlins, so I would probably, yes, of course, starting him against the Marlins without question.
And then finally, Jake Arrieta was designated for assignment by the Padres. He allowed 15 earned runs in 12 and a third innings in 4 starts with the team.
All I'm saying coincides with the slide. Is this all Jake Arrieta's fault? Can't disprove it, so who knows?
Jake Arrieta has a fantastic beard. I wonder if he uses the lawnmower 4.0 presented by Manscaped for all his grooming needs. What makes this trimmer different than all the others? The new trimmer allows you to customize your trim length all over through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4. And looks-wise, it's sleek with a two-toned matte and gloss finish. Even features a hot foil stamped black chrome Manscaped logo. Show that mower off loud and proud. Leading off listeners get 20% off and free shipping by using that code leading off at manscaped.com. Again, that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using code leading off.
I'm jumping in on your pause, as I said I would. First of all, I don't know if there you go. You can see it. I've got the Manscaped shirt on right now. Sorry if I'm blocking it. And I was also wearing this after working out yesterday. Yes, I'm disgusting. I'm wearing the same shirt. And I was having dinner and the kids finished dinner and they walk up behind me and Will, or maybe it was Sophie, my daughter, who's 10, we're like, Dad, what does it mean when it says your balls will thank you and stuff like that? So I just want to tell Manscaped that you are helping me advance, my children beyond their years. So another benefit, Manscaped, I had to explain what your balls will thank you to my 10-year-old daughter and my 8-year-old son. So crushing parenthood right now.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Some hitting standouts. Joey Gallo, we talked about him yesterday. He hit home run number 38, and now it doesn't surprise us because
it's personal. It's personal at this point. I know he listens to this podcast. It's like, oh yeah, screw you. Here it goes.
Shohei Ohtani hit number 45. Kyle Tucker hit his 27th homer. I want to touch on him quickly because in the second half, he is hitting 337, 393, 646 with 12 homers and 6 stolen bases. He's still just 24 years old. The supporting cast is fantastic. He is going to be an absolute superstar, probably an early second round pick next year would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to dislike about this. And what's great about this is we waited for a while for this, right? Everybody waited. Why aren't they calling Kyle Tucker up for years, right? It was like 2 years. We're like, where is he? Where is he? He came up. He was okay. And I remember this, Tuma, because we were in the league together. It's a keeper league. And I got Tucker for $3 out of a whatever it is, $206 budget. And last year, Tuma, before we knew that the season was going to be delayed, I was debating whether or not to keep him. And it's only a 5-year thing, and the salary escalates, as you know. But I remember debating because he wasn't that great. We didn't know exactly what it was going to be and everything like that. And ultimately, I decided to do it, and it didn't matter anyway. But he's now, you're right, one of the best players in baseball from a fantasy perspective. This is a prospect who took a little while sort of to make everything click, but now is an elite player. So I agree with you with the steals. There's everything to like in this. Like mid-second rounder strikes me as about right.
We're gonna need an official slogan or something for leading off, which the slogan should be something like, well, he'll be an interesting player to rank next year.
You're so excited about rankings, by the way, guys. If you take like your children or take your wedding day or take the day the kid was born and then multiply that by 5. And that's what you have Tuma when he talks about the process of doing his 2022 MLB rankings. When does it open? How early can I get them in? I'm ready to go on FantasyPros. So stick with us because there's going to be a lot of rankings debates going all throughout into next year.
We don't have to get into it right now, but one that just popped into my head, Kyle Tucker versus Mike Trout could be the type of rankings debate that we have next season.
Trout's going to be fantastic. It's got like a fantastic sort of, debate as to where people are going to take him. You're going to have people like me, I think, who are, just completely beholden to everything he has ever done. I don't care about the fact that he misses time. I don't care that he's not going to steal a base. I will probably overvalue him in drafts and whatever.
A couple under the radar players. Tommy Edman went 2 for 3 with 2 more steals. As again, I said the Cardinals won their 10th in a row. I just wanted to note him because he's hitting 266 with a 708 OPS. And I know everyone gets jazzed up about the steals and the position eligibility, but that just doesn't fly. 266 with a 708 OPS doesn't work. The reason people like him is because in a half season in 2019, he hit 304 with an 850 OPS, but he hasn't come close to that production since. So I'm pretty out on Tommy Edman. I think you are as well.
You're incorrect. I'm not out. No, look. Do I think Edman's going to be a 2019 version of himself? No, I agree that was out and everything like that. I have a lot of shares of Edman. Again, I'm very big on the multi-position eligibility. I also have a lot of shares of Kevin Biggio, so that didn't work out all that well. But, you bat 266 in today's MLB. That doesn't kill you, Tuma, right? That's something if maybe not an asset or anything like that. 10 home runs, okay, not great. Also doesn't necessarily kill you, but 27 steals, Tuma, and 84 runs. Like, I don't know, man. The steals and that from somebody who's going to kind of chip in a little bit everywhere. I'm out in terms of I agree with you completely that the 2019 version of him is not the real version. We'll never see that again. This version, though, Tuma, I don't know, man. Seems like my guess is he's going to end up on a lot of my teams next year because I think people like you are going to be like, come on, man. You are not this guy. You are not the guy that we thought was going to be good. And I'll be like, okay, fine. I will take the multi-position eligibility and the 30 steals and the double-digit homers. Give me all. Don't assume what I know, Tuma, or what I think.
This feeling of inner rage inside me, is that what it's going to feel like this offseason when we get into these ranking debates?
I cannot wait, Tuma, for you to be a bigger part of the podcast next year, because especially as we get into it, and we've been talking, by the way, about what we want to do this offseason for this podcast. Like, I have a feeling it's just going to be constant ranking debates, and you can yell. I want you to get feisty, Tuma. You're too nice. You're too nice a guy. Get feisty, get mad, be like, your ranking is crap, and get really up in arms. That's Mayer right, Mike Mayer. All right, now I'm out. Now I'm out. Mayer loves Tommy Edman. From a guy who loves Zach Plesac and anybody who pitches for the Indians, I can't have the same opinion as him. I'm out.
A couple other notes similar in that Kyle Tucker vein. Luis Robert went 2 for 5 with a double and 2 RBIs. Look, this is just another guy who he's flying a bit under the radar, but he's going to be a second-round pick next year. He's hitting 351. The strikeout rate and the swinging strike rate are just free-falling, which is a good thing. He is an absolute superstar. I don't even care about the batting average. I'm actually mad that the batting average is that high because all I needed to see was the K rate and the whiff rate falling. And I just hope he goes under the radar enough entering 2022.
I don't think he will, man. This is going to be a guy who everybody's going to be like, oh, yeah, remember that guy? What happened to him? Oh, all right, whatever, fine. Like, yeah, you're not, there's going to be no discount on him next year, Tuma. Sorry, you're going to have to pay up for him. You better rank him high. Ranking.
And then finally, two quick notes. Albert Pujols hit a go-ahead RBI for the Dodgers to win the game against the Rockies. I just want to note, by WRC Plus, this is his best season against lefties since 2010. So he kind of went over to the Dodgers and he has fulfilled that part-time role that they were asking of him. Just come in and mash against lefties, and he's doing it better than he has in over a decade. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going to use him like this, that works perfectly.
Yep, exactly. And then we touched on Luis Severino coming back from the IL out of nowhere. He pitched 2 scoreless innings out of the bullpen. Again, just another kind of feel-good story for him to finally come back. This was his first appearance since the 2019 playoffs. I believe I have that right.
Sounds right.
Okay, we'll go with it.
If not, nobody cares. Go ahead.
Home run updates from last night. Another night. No Bryce Harper homer. Someone in the chat said Muncy just missed a homer.
Yes, he did. I did. He did. It was close to catching Joe. Yes. Yeah. We have hit 1,200 homers, 1,204. How many days left in the season? 10? Can we get to 1,300? Probably not, but whatever. Helps in Miami called Aaron Judge up to 31, right there with the leaders. Turf Ferguson up to 30 after calling Austin Riley, and he's got 2 in a row. Derek from Texas, Akak, also up to 30, called Giancarlo Stanton. Mayor calls Ohtani. Way to go, Mayor, up to 28. Brian, 92271, did not call a home run yesterday, but he does turn 50 today. So happy birthday, Brian, 92271. Joe still leads with 33. I'm at 32 with Randy. Helpless in Miami, Go Card still at 31. Turf Ferguson, Lawnmower Man, 4.4. Derek from Texas, Akak. Smalls, all at 30. D. Gordon Liddy at 29. Mike is at 28. Wonky at 26. And Catfox JJ Tater, Mr. Buster, Catfox 24. Those guys at 23. So this is a real race going on. By the way, if you guys do NFL, we are starting an NFL contest, a touchdowns contest. We'll announce that later today, maybe tomorrow. So it's going to be fun. But the home run contest next year, man, it's going to be nuts.
I also think I would love for it to be like tied or close going into that final weekend. And comes down to the last day and Harper has a 3-homer game, and just
hey, if it solves the MVP bet. I mean, I'm just saying right now, like, Harper has not gotten yard against the Orioles. So far I'm like, I'm considering it a victory right now.
DFS for tonight is a 10-game slate. Some good pitchers out there. I wouldn't necessarily recommend him, but Joe Ryan's pitching, so happy Joe Ryan.
Of course.
Everyone, which ace do you like best tonight?
I think you can go with Ryan, by the way, in a GPP at least. 7,700 on FanDuel, 8,200 on DraftKings. I mean, if I'm going somewhere, it's probably Wheeler against Baltimore, 10-7 on FanDuel, 10-4 on DK. You could go with Chris Sale, who I expect to dominate my Metropolitans. 10,000 on FanDuel, 96 on DK. Walker Buehler is in Colorado, so that's always a little dicey. 9,400 and 9,800 on DK. So for the cash arms, I would probably go personally with Wheeler if you're going for a GPP or a secondary arm. You could go with Corey Kluber coming off finally a nice start against Texas. 8,000 on FanDuel, 9,000 on DK. Or Ian Anderson against Arizona. 8,000 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DK. So a couple of intriguing GPP and or secondary arms.
Some game stacks, the Phillies against Keegan Aiken and the Orioles, and then the Yankees against Taylor Hearn and the Rangers for some specific lineup builders we have.
Lamont Wade, again, I love it when I am playing a guy this week in my finals, and Mayor recommends him as a lineup builder because Mayor's lineup builders are pure fire. Lamont Wade, anyway, against Velasquez for the Padres, who are sinking fast, as we know, 2,900 on FanDuel, which is great, 46 on DK. JT Realmuto against Aiken in Baltimore, 3,300 on FanDuel, 4,800 on DraftKings. Yuli Gurriel against Junk, as we know, our favorite, 3,300 on FanDuel, 4,200 on DraftKings. Jorge Soler against Merrill Kelly, 3,200 on FanDuel, 3,800 on DraftKings. And Ty France against Cole Irvin, 3,100 on FanDuel, a whopping 5,000 on DraftKings. So maybe stay away from him there.
Home run call of the night, Dan. Are you sticking with Coors Field?
I'm not going to, mainly because it's Herman Marquez and it's Walker Buehler, and it's just a little bit dicey. What's funny is that my backup yesterday was any of the many Yankees hitters. So I will go back there. I will go for back-to-back home runs from Giancarlo Stanton against Taylor Hearn. So that is my official call. Giancarlo Stanton for the home run.
There you have it. We'll see if Dan can tie or pass Joe, or if any of the other peanuts in the Cracker Jacks can take down Lord He Who Shall Not Be Named. We're wrapping up here with the Wednesday edition. I did just want to know on the off-season pods, if any of the listeners, Peanuts and Cracker Jacks, or in Discord, if there are certain topics or, just podcast episode ideas that you would like to hear, let us know either in Discord or on Twitter at Too Much Tuma, at Dan Harris 80, at Mike Mayer.
What do you want to do, Tuma? Because I texted you. What do you got?
Okay. Well, I'm going to send back an essay, but I do think we can let it breathe a little bit. We can talk, maybe about some of our picks for end of season awards. We can do movies. The movie pod, I would want me, you, and Mayor on for a 3-person show. I have it all planned out. We're each going to pick our Mount Rushmore of baseball movies plus honorable mentions to make sure that we can touch on others. It's going to be an hour long. We're going to keep it short and tight. I'm going to host it, and it's going to be fantastic.
Okay. Whatever you want.
All right. So prepare for that. Again, any of those ideas, reach out to us. We're talking baseball in the Discord, and make sure you subscribe to YouTube Fantasy Pros MLB. For Dan Harris, this has been Brendan Tuma. Go Red Sox tonight, and we will talk to you on